Hello and welcome to Superheroes in Heels, the podcast that fiercely empowers women to step into command presence, own their role, and lead like the strong, capable women that they are. I'm your host, Kimberly Borgens, and today I'm joined with a woman who brings great value to the space of love. Love, Dr. Elizabeth Rosner. We're going to go into what that means in just a moment. But Dr. Elizabeth Rosner, one of the amazing things about her that I am just so glad that she's on Superheroes and Heels with me today is this woman just exudes love. Every time I see her, she has the happiest smile on her face. She just loves on people. She is constantly loving on people. But let me tell you, there's a reason why. She is this phenomenal resource for a love revolution. She is a powerful, dynamic woman who has worked really hard in her life. And we're going to talk about some of those amazing things. But her core space about her love revolution is leading with love, which stands for letting others voluntarily evolve or letting yourself evolve as well. And Dr. Elizabeth Rosner, I just am so excited to have you. You have so many accolades. I mean, you have such a great past, but more importantly, I just want to kind of look at where are we going now? What's happening today? And so, Dr. Elizabeth Rosner, welcome to Superheroes in Heels with me today.
Kimberly, I am so delighted to be here. You know, I love a pom pom. Thank you for asking me to be a part of this amazing podcast. So excited about watching your trajectory and where things are heading for you, and really delighted and honored that you've asked, and great to be a part of things. Thank you.
Yay! Look, I remember, like, I have seen you at many events and everything else. And I remember a great connection that we had is I just absolutely loved the necklace that you are wearing. And it was a fun necklace. I love wearing it, by the way. And it
Thank
was
you.
a fun necklace. And, I said to you, like, oh, can I borrow that? Because I was going up on stage and you said, absolutely. And so you let me borrow it. And then when I went to return it, you gifted it to me. You just said, "Hey, I wanna give this to you." I mean, that is just your heart, right? And me, I'm like, "Oh, no, I can't take this," right? And you're like, "Yes, you can. Please accept that, please." And I did. And then we got further into the story on that, and, I loved how that actually came out. I just love that necklace, and,
Yes.
I just couldn't let it set, but
Oh,
it was a great remembering. It's a great reminder for me that sometimes, it's okay to just go, oh, somebody's sharing some love with me.
yes, exactly. Because it's very easy sometimes for us to give love. It's
Yeah,
harder for us to receive love. You
absolutely.
know, it's, when we say love is letting others voluntarily evolve, so you're other focused. But when it's also letting ourselves voluntarily evolve, and what does that mean? Now, here's the crazy thing, Kimberly. You insisted, like I told you the story of where I got it, and you insisted on gifting me something in
Yes.
exchange. Do you know I still haven't?
No.
And every time I look at it, I'm like, but nothing has been compelling enough to not have the memory of Kimberly there. So I mean, when I open it, I see you all the time. So that's also the beautiful idea of connection
Yeah.
is you never know what's the thing that's gonna knit somebody's heart together. And I hope it's okay for me to say this. The reason why I mean I obviously I wanted to gift it to you, but one of the most compelling things that you said was Lawrence loved it. And I was like, "Oh, ma'am, if Lawrence loves it, by all means." I mean, that was just such a sweet, like, sweet thing for him to even notice, and then for him to say it, then I was like, "Okay." So, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, that's true. It's sometimes men don't pick up on the little things, right?
Right,
And
right,
he was very clear on this one.
right. Oh,
And,
good. Yeah,
so he still is like, "Oh, I love that one," right? So
good,
that's true, that's a great story.
good.
Okay, so, let's dig in a little bit more on, tell us about, leading with love. So, those of you who are listening, I just want you to know this is an acronym, love, letting others voluntarily evolve. And tell us a little bit about your journey in getting to leading with love.
I'm going to start with just the overarching name of my company is Love Revolution. And it has three pillars. It's based on a quote by Martin Luther King, and we can get into that later if you like. One of the pillars is leading with love. And for your audience, so y'all, I just turned 55, and I'm at
Woohoo!
the age that we did Shrinky Dinks in,
Oh, I
we just had
remember
on, you
Sugar.
remember Shrinky Dink? So I did a shrinky dink when I was 5 years old at summer camp, and it's one of these big like pieces of paper, like plastic, not paper, plastic,
That you write on.
write on it or whatever. Then you put it in the oven, and it shrinks it down. So it takes like a paper-sized piece of plastic and then shrinks it down. You can feel how hard it is. I did this at 5. God is love. Love is God. To Mom and Dad and Catherine from Elizabeth. So
Oh.
you, Kimberly, at 5 years old, that love was a part of my story. But
Mm,
then the world came in and the world was like, oh, love is weak and love is stupid and it's passive and it doesn't work and you got to have it siloed or you got to be tough and you can't show love or, love is just really like that eros love, that brotherly love or the romantic love. And so it's really only reserved for a few people. And we need to be fiercely independent. And in so doing, we need to define our groups. So you're either this or this, and you got a lot of dividing lines. And it's
yeah.
like, and I was tripping over all these dividing lines. And it was not until I encountered the philosophy and methodology of nonviolence, which is
Mhm.
a love centered philosophy
Yeah.
that it really brought my understanding to really a full circle moment. And now in everything that I do, particularly in leading with love, I will say our mission is teaching 8 billion people to love 8 billion people one heart at a time.
Mm.
And it's amazing how many people go, oh, that's great. And it's also amazing how many people go, no,
Exactly.
no,
And,
no.
I think that's true because I think what happens is we're taught how to love people by the people who were taught how to love people who were taught by the people how to love people, right? So this goes back a long, long time.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
what we need to do is learn to expand that
Yes,
space of love, that
yes,
it's not just for your immediate family,
yes,
that it's not just for your best friends,
yes.
right? But it can be, I can love somebody where they are, even if they're not where I want them to be.
Yes.
Right? I
Yes.
can love people from a different culture.
Yeah.
I can love people from a different background. I can love people who don't actually get along with my ideologies,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
And so I love that about you.
Yeah.
And let's dig in just a little bit deeper on this. Tell us a little bit about your work with the King Center.
So, so for those of you that are listening, I grew up in Athens, Georgia, which is about an hour and a half outside of Atlanta. So it's about an hour and a half from the King Center, and I'm white, and obviously I'm Southern, and it is entirely possible to grow up in the South and just stay in your little white bubble.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned to you all, I'm 55. And so I graduated at a time where I was taught implicitly and explicitly that the Civil War was about states' rights and not slavery. And so when my son was in high school and he was doing U.S. history, he was talking about the Civil War, and I said, "Well, you know that it was fought on states' rights, not slavery." And he said, "Mom, the states' rights to do what?" And I was like, "Huh." And everybody has a different brain mechanism, and I am really really grateful that God gave me a brain that said if information comes in that doesn't match what's already in there, rather than me immediately rejecting it, which happens a lot of the time, then I need to go, why isn't that fitting in?
Mhm.
And, I had been already on this process a little bit of unlearning and relearning. I had read Race Matters by Cornell West in my PhD program, and that started me doing some thinking. And so, anyway, because of Alexander saying that, then I started really doing some investigating. Found, fast forward, found the King Center on Twitter and attended my first 2-day orientation to Dr. King's methodology and philosophy in April of 2018. And I mean, Kimberly, when I tell you, I mean, God said to me sitting at the King Center, you will spend the rest of your days teaching nonviolence around the world.
Wow.
No idea what that meant. None.
Yeah.
No idea what that meant. And now every single thing that I do is grounded and rooted in Kingian nonviolence. So I attended the orientation in April. In August of 2018, I get an email from Dr. Bernice King, which is Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King's youngest child.
Mhm.
She says, I'm asked to teach my father's philosophy. I don't have the capacity to do that. I'm assembling a training team. Are you interested? And honestly, I thought, well, who says no to Dr. Bernice King? Good for him. Yes, I'm interested. Whatever,
What are you
and
doing?
I I didn't know. Was she, asking 100 people, 1,000 people? I had no idea. There are 10 certified trainers, there are 3 senior trainers, and there's Dr. Bernice. That's it.
Wow.
That is it.
Wow.
And, I tell my students all the time that an hour a day is 4% of our day. And so I study Dr. King and nonviolence an hour a day, every day, because it's 4% of my day. And that's where I want to put that 4% because it is not easy out here when life is lifing.
Yeah.
It can be easy for love not to happen. And so I want to be a bearer of love. Obviously, Kimberly, you and Lawrence, you're just so easy to love. And so I'm grateful that you see that love in me. However, there are people that I encounter that are far less easy to love than
Yes.
you, beautiful soul. And I also want them to encounter me as embodying love, whether or not they accept it from me or not.
Right. Yeah,
That's okay,
absolutely.
you know?
Yeah, I was just in a mastermind session, because I'm in a couple of different masterminds, but I was in a session and somebody was talking about, sometimes you just have to let people go and move on without them. And I kind of interjected and I said, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I said sometimes the people that are your biggest critics are your
Mhm,
family members, right?
mhm.
As that happens, how do you stop loving them? You can't just push them aside. You
Right,
can't just say, "I'm not gonna love you because you don't agree with my philosophy and what I'm doing in life."
right.
Right? And so I talked about, like, you can if you look at think of like a target, the circles, the
Yes,
different circles, right? Is I can move people out a few rungs so that
yes,
they don't have as much closeness to me, but I
yes,
can still love on them. I
yes.
can still keep them together in my circle of influence, just not
Right,
my close-knit circle in that moment.
right.
Right?
Exactly.
And that's people who have different opinions than me, and
Mhm,
people who, don't like what I'm doing or,
mhm.
get mad when I mention God because I can't be authentic if I just can't be me, right?
Right, right,
I'll allow you to be authentic and be
right,
you,
right.
right? It is I don't have to throw everybody out just because they don't agree with me, they don't like me, they don't wanna support my goals.
Exactly, exactly,
Right?
exactly.
And so they were like, "Oh, I like that idea," like, because they hadn't thought of it. They're ready to just
Mhm.
throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yes, yes,
Coming
yes.
from look, I what you may not realize is I grew up in Virginia, North Carolina, and Tennessee.
Ah, I did not know that.
Yeah, so in my early years, that's where I was a military brat. We lived over there, and I'll
Oh.
say y'all and all y'all. Get
Oh,
me with
you
a few
just kinda
Southern
went into
girls.
it right there. That
Yeah,
sounds good.
get me with a few Southern gals, and it comes right back.
Yes,
So
yes,
I get it.
yes.
There was a whole different mindset. There's a whole
Mhm.
different mindset on the East Coast of the United States than there is on the West Coast of the United States.
Right.
I'm blessed because the city that I live in, has been voted as the most, diverse city in the US.
Wow.
Yeah, so I you know, we
Wow.
it has been proven we have every culture, And so if you're not willing to get along with everybody, like,
Yeah,
how do you fit in,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
But there's some places that it's easy to fit in, because that's all that's there,
That's exactly right. That's
right?
exactly right. Yes.
And what we wanna do is expand our mind, and I love something that you said, about, thinking the way that you think is you don't there's no auto rejection for something that doesn't quite fit what your normal thinking is. Like, you
Right.
go, let me think about that because that's not what my brain already knows."
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
I think that
yes.
that's powerful. If people can take that away from today, we're gonna talk about all kinds of other things that they can still take away. But I mean, if you really think about that for just a moment,
Mhm.
is and
Mhm.
that's included in business,
Mhm.
right? Because 'Cause I'm a business
Exactly.
girl and I'm thinking this through business-wise, is how often do we go, "Oh, that's not how it's supposed to be done,"
Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
"Oh, that's not what no, that's not how you do it." Hmm.
Mhm.
In business, sometimes you have to expand your thinking in
Right.
order to grow,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
And so I love that statement.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's what helped me honestly grow Love Revolution to have 3 relatively distinct pillars
Mhm.
under the umbrella of love. And you and I, are both dear friends and mentored by Sandra Yancey, and she talks about the power of iteration.
Mhm.
And not too long ago, I was in a networking group, not Sandra's networking group, but another one, and somebody said, "Wow, I really need to work on the way that I present about my business." They didn't call it the 1 minute,
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was thinking, well, I've been a part of eWomen for almost 6 years. So 6 times 12 is how many, in-person luncheons I've been to, plus how many SBIs, plus how many icons, plus, and so it's the power of talking about it and tweaking it. And it's also the power of not memorizing it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's authentically who I am. And it took a while to integrate, particularly it took a while to integrate leading with love, or love and debt free degree. That
Mm,
seemed to be and the King Center, because it was, even in my head, it was very siloed. So
right.
this overarching concept, and how do you get to that? It's a powerful way that we as women can show up, because like you have the word diamond behind you, and I use that example all the time, is that we are not one faceted. We are multifaceted.
Absolutely.
And two things can be true at the same time. If you look at a diamond, and I'm only looking at this aspect, I think that's the only truth. Mm-mm. There's this other truth over here that's equally true. So,
Absolutely.
it's you just have to say, okay, how does this work for me? How do I navigate this?
Yeah. Well, my name Kimberly, it's spelt with the Ley at the end,
Right,
right?
right.
I was named after Cape Kimberley, a South African diamond mine, and that
Oh,
I am always a
wow.
diamond in the rough.
Wow.
And I just got back, I was in Africa in March, and went there and had the opportunity to kind of see how diamonds were cut and
Wow.
how they create all those facets on a diamond. So I love that analogy of,
Who
yeah,
knew that
every angle.
you were gonna go right there? Who,
Yeah.
like, when I said that, who knew that you were I had no idea. That is so powerful. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, how many different angles can you look at this and
Yes,
see something different?
yes.
Right, and I think people forget to do that in their businesses. I
Yeah,
think people forget to do that in their relationships. Right,
yes.
my husband and I have been together for 35 years. Good Lord. I don't know how that happened, but still 35 years, and I can look at him and go, "Oh, it's just the same old," right?
Mhm,
Or I can go,
mhm.
maybe if I'm thinking it's the same old, maybe I need to start looking at another facet, another direction of him,
That's right.
right?
That's right. That's
Um,
right.
don't tell him this, right? But is, my husband, God bless him, he's a father of 4 and he has got dad jokes down,
Uh-huh.
right? Like
Uh-huh.
he can say dad jokes. And when he says these dad jokes, he thinks he is just so doggone funny,
Uh-huh.
right? And I'm
Uh-huh.
looking at him and I'm like, no, that's dumb.
Yeah.
Just dumb. But the funny thing about it is I realize like that's not the energy I really want to give to my husband.
Right.
So now what I'm doing, I don't think he's caught on yet, okay? But I said to him, like, he'll do this little dumb dad joke because they're meant to be dumb. I know that, right? But in my brain, I'm like, "That's just why," right?
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh,
he's doing these little jokes, and I'm like, "That's so funny," and then just walk away.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Just kinda shifted, and he's kinda looking at me kind of odd, we gotta keep the things moving around in
Exactly,
relationships.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
So I digress, but let's move back over. Tell us a little bit about you just mentioned it, debt-free degree. What is debt-free degree mean?
Debt-free degree, and it under the love umbrella, it is love yourself enough to say no to student loans and yes to financial freedom. To say
Woohoo!
no to debilitating debt and yes to personal and generational wealth. So I'm very excited that I published a book last year, Debt-Free Degree, and it is truly lays out the entire group blueprint of Debt-Free Degree. So my story is that I earned 3 degrees, including my PhD, and I only took $1,000 in loans. So I can map any degree completely debt free. Now, there's been some things, Kimberly, in the last few years that have made it more difficult, not impossible. We certainly can do it, but more difficult. And then there are some, a lot of people will say, I don't discuss politics with
Mhm.
anybody. I just don't. I will say, I rarely discuss politicians with folks. However, at the root, politics are policies, and
Absolutely.
policies impact us. And there are some policies in a recently passed bill through the U.S. House that
Mhm.
have direct negative implications for a debt free degree. Like one of the proposals is that scholarship money and grant money now be taxed as income.
Mhm.
Talking about how do you get grants and scholarships. Now, if you've got to pay taxes on that, then you've got to get even more taxes. I mean, more grants and scholarships. The other consideration, Kimberly, is that I went to a phenomenal state school here in Georgia. It's a tiny little school. I got a great degree. I have really some of my dearest friends on the planet. We're still like, there's like 27 of us in a Facebook group that we can talk about every single thing that we want to talk about in that Facebook group. And that lovely state school, this tiny little lovely state school, for 8 semesters, which is a 4-year degree, for 8 semesters is $100,000 today.
Wow. Yep.
And
Yep.
so there are some schools, there's, an elite school here in Atlanta, there's one in Tennessee, that their cost of attendance per year is approaching $100,000.
Yeah.
8 semesters is $400,000.
Absolutely.
So one of the things with debt free degree is love yourself enough to say no to student loans, to do
Yeah.
not go into that debt, whatever that looks like. And so I just spoke with a student the other day who actually is from the UK, and I know nothing about the UK system, but
Mhm.
because I network, worldwide, then her dad and I were in a group together. Obviously, I've never met him in real life. And he was like, "Hey, Dr. Ross can help you." So we had a whole conversation. And she just graduated with her bachelor's, and she ultimately wants her doctorate, which is a medical doctor. She wants to be a clinical psychologist. And so there was like this really, I was like, okay, what is the quickest through line? Well, the quickest through line in her mind seemed like it wasn't going to happen. It was like kind of a shot in the dark. So then there's this other route that you can go, but that also is difficult. Then there's this third way, which involves getting a master's in between, but then
Mm.
that could involve debt. And so how do you achieve that? And so it's all of these things, and we're all making choices. We are
Yeah.
all making choices. For people though that are, graduating with six, I mean, honestly, Kimberly, 37% of all students who owe student loan debt have six
Yeah.
figures in debt.
Yeah.
And so how it is that we can help. So I started doing this really in 2005. So my parents said we don't go into debt for education, and that's just what I did. And
Yeah.
and the $1,000 came from one summer quarter. That's how old I am on the quarter system. Is the grants and scholarships and other things that I had put in place. For the other 3 quarters, they didn't pay during the summer. So I go into financial aid. I say that in air quotes because financial aid is not there for Elizabeth to graduate debt free.
Right,
Financial aid is there for Elizabeth to get access to loans to pay
right,
the finances that the school is charging. Okay.
correct.
But I go in there and I say, "Hey, I want to, get a scholarship for $1,000." And she goes, "Oh, we don't have any scholarships in the summer. Just take this $1,000 loan. You can figure out how to pay it off later." And I did, even
Mhm.
though I had been taught my entire life we do not go into debt for education. That's where my $1,000 comes in.
Yeah,
So this gentleman right here, I helped him graduate in 2005 with a debt-free degree. He now has 12 children. These are 6 of his 12. His baby is Elizabeth. She's the baby, and she's named after me, which I'm so honored and delighted. But I'm now helping second generation. All 6 of his oldest are in middle school, high school, or college. They're all on track for a debt-free degree. So I'm
wonderful.
helping second generation because it's a mindset as much as anything. I mean, that's the truth for a lot of things, but truly about debt-free degree, it's a mindset.
Absolutely. I remember when I went to college, I had to take out student loans.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
I didn't have any extra cash laying around, and I didn't I nobody was there to teach me how to do what you do,
Right,
Doctor Elizabeth.
right, right.
Right? And I had to take out loans, and, lucky for me, I was smart enough to only take out what I needed, right?
Yes.
And I did, and I paid that off. It took me, I don't know, I think about 5 years, uh,
Mhm.
after college. But one of the things I will have to say, it's a little contrary to you, so since you're open-minded, I will share it.
Mhm. Share it, sister, share it.
Is when my kids went to college, though we had the money to take care of it because we'd planned it all out, right? But one of the things that I did is I made them take a student loan,
Mhm.
right? A
Mhm.
$5,000 student loan. And I did that intentionally because
Mhm.
I wanted them to build credit.
Mhm.
Because in this
Mhm.
society right now, everything is about credit.
Gotcha.
Right? And so, it's not, they don't wanna do cash or, checks aren't a big deal. Nowadays, everything is like, "Let me just run that card," right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so one
Mhm.
of the things I did with my kids is I had them take out a student loan when they went to school, $5,000, and then had them pay it off,
Mhm.
right? "Okay,
Mhm.
you can work, we'll pay it off, let's get it paid off." I don't care, I made payments for it when they worked for me.
Yes.
Right? Like, I
Yes.
told my kids, raising them up and everything else, I said to 'em, I said, like, "Look, guys, I'm not gonna give you money. I'm not gonna just hand you money. You come to mama and you say, 'I need some money.' I'm not gonna just give you money, but I'll always have a project,
Yes.
right? I'll always have a project that you can earn some money."
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so sometimes they earn some money working for projects, and then I put it toward their student loan, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But I
Exactly.
have to say that I have raised these amazing kids who understand the value of credit,
Yes. Yes.
right?
And I will also say in my open-mindedness, we're very much saying the same thing
Yeah.
because we're very much saying, "Don't take it without thinking smartly about it." What I
Yes.
oftentimes hear, Kimberly, and this is what I thought you were gonna say, which is interesting because that's not what you said, is, "I want my kids to have skin in the game." Well, a debt-free degree, you're gonna have skin in the game. I mean, a student
Absolutely.
that's earning a debt-free degree, they're gonna put in the hard work. So,
They gotta do the work to
however,
make that
you're
happen.
exactly right. A debt-free degree is not achieving that credit box, and you didn't have them take out loans for half of the amount,
Correct,
$5,000, which is,
$5,000.
far different too. And
Yeah,
so all
like
of that
maybe
is,
$1,000, right? Something, but I have to tell you one more thing is one of my sons, he says to me, he calls me up one day, he says, "Mom, like, what happened?" I'm like, "What do you mean? I don't understand what happened." He's like, my credit score changed. It went below 800."
yep.
I mean, it went below 900. That's what he said. It went below 900. And
Mhm.
I'm like, "Well, honey, it's okay." He's like, "No, why did it go below 900? I had kept it up there,
Yes.
and everything else." And I said,
Yes.
"Well, what'd you do?" He said, "Well, I finished paying off my student
Exactly.
loan." And
There
I'm
you
like,
go.
"Well, that's awesome. That's a celebration." I said,
Yes.
"But every time you do something with money,
Mhm.
it's gonna make an adjustment on your credit score,
Mhm.
right? Because
Mhm. Mhm.
it's a score that, other people come up with, but it's always changing.
Always.
Right?
Yes.
Always changing. But
Yes.
my son was so proud that he had kept it so high, right?
Yes.
In his mind, because I educated them around credit, right?
Mhm.
In his mind, he's like, "I need to keep my score 850 or better."
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, it's fluctuated now because he bought vehicles and, and
Right.
all that,
Right.
but I mean, it was just a funny thing to me that, when he picked up the phone and called me because he was all upset because his credit score went below 900.
Yes,
The only
exactly.
thing we had was a student loan.
Right, 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 right. Well, and what you were talking about earlier about how information comes in and I evaluate it. I had a friend of mine that I've known since elementary school. We don't have each other's phone numbers. We're not besties, or I mean,
Mhm.
we don't converse other than outside social media. But she saw that I was doing a debt-free degree webinar, and so she attended. And after 20 minutes of this webinar, she had two questions. One was, where do I go to find the best rate on student loans?
Mhm.
I said, I don't know. And
Yeah.
she said, okay, second question, I'm really struggling with this. How do I situate my income in such a way that best makes sure that my son gets as much student loan as he can get? I was like, I don't have the answer to that. So
Yeah.
after 20 minutes with me, every bit of that information, it just bounced right off, because in her mind, and this is true for so many students, in her mind, you go to college with student loans or you don't go to college.
Right.
And so it's me getting that debt-free degree message out there to break through the human algorithm of take the loans and figure out how to pay it off later. And even recently, I was reading some articles, and it was all geared towards brand new graduates and brand new professionals and blah 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 blah, and having to do with money. Always in a top 10, always was, and this is how you pay off your student loans.
Yeah.
Always, as if everybody has to have them. And that's just a myth. It's just,
Yes. Thank you. It is a myth. It is a myth because the truth is that it's just money and you can plan ahead. You can create the space that when you finish school, you don't have to be so stressed about
right,
finding the right job in that moment
right,
because you have so much to pay off in student loans.
right,
It's
right.
really about finding the right job, the right business, the right, thing that just makes your soul sing
Yes,
for you, and
yes,
if you have all that debt on your shoulder, it
that's
doesn't
exactly
allow
right.
you to have that space to do that,
That's right. That's
right?
exactly right.
Because now you have this debt you gotta pay off, you gotta get into any job, and it's gotta be the best job and,
Mhm.
get the most money so that we can go and pay off this debt instead of the right job that fits your heart and soul,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
makes you fall in love with the people around you and what you're doing as a job or business, whatever that is.
yeah, yeah.
And, I think that that's huge. I think what you're doing is giving a huge value to people when they can really like shift their mindset about
Mhm,
education equals debt.
mhm. Exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And you have something that you called a grit system around this. So tell us a little bit about that because we talked earlier that men have grit, right? They get in
Mhm,
there and it's grit, but
mhm.
women forget that they also have grit. So tell us
Yes.
a little bit about grit.
Yes. And I will also say women have great intuition. Men do too, but women have great intuition. And I have a word of the year every year,
Mhm.
and it comes from my higher power. And I started realizing that I was actually getting my word of the year in September, which is uh also an interesting timing kind of thing. And so my word of the year for 2019 was grit. And I
Mm,
retired from higher ed December of 2018. So I had no idea what grit, what that was going, how that was going to be impactful to me. So I use the grit blueprint, or the acronym grit, in all of my coaching and teaching, whatever it is. So in terms of debt free degree, the G is grants and scholarships. So there's $46 billion in grants and
mm.
scholarships. So even if they are going to be taxed as income, just apply for a few more and let's cover that. But there's that much out there. Plus, I think because the federal government may be cutting so many of their grants and scholarships, that I think organizations, companies, corporations, they're going to come in and kind of fill that gap. We just had Delta here in Atlanta just announced a $16 million investment in the school system in and around the airport here in Atlanta. So we're
Nice.
going to see corporations stepping up. The R is return on investment, ROI. And so recently I was with a family, and the mom is a teacher, and she has over $200,000 in student loan debt.
Wow.
because every time she wanted to increase her pay, similar to Kimberly, like Kimberly said to her child, if you want some money, then come to me and you've got a project and
Right.
you can earn money. Well, the school system was kind of like every single time you earn a certificate or add on another degree or something, we're going to increase your pay.
Yeah.
She had not yet ever calculated the ROI, the return on investment. And she said, I'll never pay off $200,000, never.
No,
And there
not
are some
not
student
as
loans. You what, Kimberly?
not as a teacher, she won't.
Right. There are some student loans that when you pass away and the knowledge in your head is gone, that loan passes to your heirs for them to pay off. Not all of them, but some of them do that. I have no idea if she's in that kind of boat. And so she had never considered ROI.
Mhm.
The I is interconnection. That's the I in all of my programs, because it's this idea that we individually as people can be interconnected, and how do we network and all of that. But even within ourselves, how do you work smarter, not harder? How do
Mhm.
you make sure that things are, when you can, that you can streamline and that kind of thing. And then the T is my proven triangle approach. So if you think about a triangle, a three-legged stool, there's SM, which is student money. There's FM, which are your friends, your family, your folks, the people you're familiar with. And then we have our favorite, and it is OPM, and it stands for other people's money. Think about it, Kimberly. Every single dollar is OPM, every single one, because either I have given my time and talent to someone else for them to pay me, or they have given me money or donated money, or I've inherited money, or I've won the lottery.
There
But
you go.
somehow, some way, every single dollar we have is OPM. That goes back to that interconnection piece. How are we using OPM? Because I'm not aware of there being $46 billion in grants and scholarships to help me buy a home or to help me buy a car.
Right.
But there's that much money so you can go to school debt free.
Mhm. Mhm. And I think that's huge. I hope, our listeners can really see that, there's education. Look, education is great. I'm all for education. The more that you know, the more knowledge that you have, the more skill sets that you can bring to the marketplace, the more valuable you become, as long as you utilize it correctly, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and so in education, you can get other people's money. You can get grants and scholarships. You can do all those things, and you can't do the same thing without putting in the work. So military,
Right.
for example, right? Military, you go into the military and you get out on a good on out you can get a VA loan, which will help you with your buying a house. But there's not that many scholarships, like you said, available for buying houses and buying
Right.
cars and doing all the other stuff. So why not utilize your educational side of it so that you can then save
Yeah.
for those
Yeah.
other pieces in life that don't
Yeah.
have that offering?
And speaking of the military, oftentimes people will say, okay, I've heard you say you can map any degree debt free. Tell me how you can do that with, a legal degree or a medical degree or something like that. And I was talking to a mom, and she and I were both vendors at a community awareness fair. And so I was there with debt free degree. She was there with her organization. Her daughter was on track she is on track to become a medical doctor. And she asked me, how would I map that debt free if I can do it? And I said, military is a great way to do that. And she said, oh no, we would never do that. She kind of did her head like this. Okay, that's up to you. And she said, my daughter has accrued $400,000 in student loan debt thus far. $400,000. And she is going to do a repayment plan. So she's going to go work for a hospital. And then after she does that for X amount of years, then it'll wipe all that out. My understanding is many, if not all of those repayment plans are also now non existent. So here's this young lady who consciously knew that there was a debt free option, that she said, that's not for me.
Mhm.
Fine. We all have choices. And
Yeah,
also, I'm going to do this other thing, but now this other thing isn't available. So
yeah.
now she's on the hook for $400,000 plus whatever she accrues between now and the time she graduates.
Yeah. They have to recreate and rethink some new ways on doing all of that
Right,
now, because if
right,
not, it's just gonna be constant debt for the rest of her life.
right,
Um,
right,
but,
right.
I think that the biggest thing that I hear from you, Dr. Roz, is, well, first off, we just gotta love everybody. This
Yeah.
is a love revolution,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Love it. Yes.
Love out there in the world,
Yes.
and really rethink how we think on stuff, right?
Yeah.
That auto rejection, let go of that auto rejection so that we can see that love in the world.
Yes.
And then also when it comes to the debt free degree, right? Is you have that book, it shares all that information, but we have to rethink, what we automatically will reject when it comes to education,
Yes. Yes.
and do something just a little bit different.
Yes.
And, and we gotta bring that grit to the table as
Right.
women,
Right.
not just to trust our intuition, which we have a lot, but, to expand that and dig deeper into it.
Mhm. Mhm.
I just think that's wonderful. So, let me, some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see, heels or sneakers?
Oh, sneakers.
Sneakers. Is there a time when you do wear heels?
Mm, my no, and I was about to say, I'm in my mother of the groom era. My
Okay.
son is engaged, and he's getting
Woohoo.
married, early next year to the most delightful I am truly, truly gaining a daughter, and I am so excited, and so she was actually at our house yesterday, and we were talking about how she said, "You can either wear, like mid-calf length dress or floor length," and at first I was like, I might do mid-calf, but then I was like, "Ooh, floor length means I don't have to wear heels." So,
Being strategic there.
yes, yeah. So, yeah, no heels ever. Mm-mm.
Okay, let's see, favorite day of the week and why?
Today. Today is always my favorite day.
That is you.
Yes,
That fits you
yes, yes,
perfect.
and actually, I end every day with YAY.
What does that mean?
So, Monday, Tuesday, threes, yay, or Wednesday, instead of, Monday. And a lot of people say Friday. Well, yeah, Friday, but I
Yeah,
mean, there are other 6 days that end in YAY. So,
that's awesome, I love that. Tell me, what's something that's still on your bucket list?
ooh, on my bucket list. Well, my husband and I just we did a cruise at Thanksgiving last year, and we discovered that we liked it, and we discovered that we really liked the boat. And I had a networking call, and just in the process of that call, this woman said, "My husband and I love cruising, and we've been on like 25 cruises." And I said, "What has been your favorite?" She said, "Well, it's only for people that really like a boat." And I was like, "Okay, because you're at sea so many days." But she said it's when they're switching the boat over from being an Alaskan cruise to a Caribbean cruise in the winter, and so it's Vancouver to Hawaii, and we're doing that in October. So I'm really excited about that.
Good for you, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you'll be able to check that bucket list off.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, if you had, any superpower, if you could get any superpower, what would it be,
Oh my
and
god.
why?
Okay, I have the superpower of love.
Yes, you do.
Need the superpower to ensure that 8 billion people love 8 billion people.
See? That is your superpower, and why is that important for you?
Because when we all look at each other and we all realize we all have dignity, we all have worth, when we realize that the violence and the oppression and the conflict, that just because we've done it for millennia, it's not working. And when you think about the means and the ends, you, as Jimmy Carter says, you can't bomb your way to peace. Even when my son was young, I spanked him with a wooden spoon because I was spanked with a wooden spoon, and I spanked him because he was throwing sand at another kid in a sandbox. I inflicted violence on my child to teach him not to inflict violence, and we
Right.
do this without thinking. And so, if 8 billion people are loving 8 billion people, we're not going to see the violence and the oppression and the inequity that we have now. Now, will we have conflict? Absolutely. We're not all going to agree.
Right.
However, to watch our world house hum with the idea of 8 billion people loving 8 billion people, what can we accomplish, y'all?
Amen. Come on. Absolutely. Woo! This is such a great episode, Dr. Roz. I'm so glad that we had the opportunity today. Like I already said, there's been some key takeaways, some very powerful pieces that we can take away. Look, if you want to get in connection with Dr. Roz, it's really easy. Dr. Roz, DRROZ, because that's what she lovingly goes by very affectionately. Dr. Roz.love. So drroz.love. Go see that. That's her website. Connect with her. She's also on, of course, every social platform: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, that you can connect with her, Dr. Elizabeth Rosner. And you can also connect with her when you go to drroz.love to get her a mini session of leading with love mini session. I think that's of huge value. So make sure that you have that opportunity to, you know, go over there and connect with her, because look, I know that my connection with you has been just a wonderful space, full
Mhm.
of love, full of heart. You have some amazing qualities about you that more people, if they could just step into them just a little bit,
Mhm.
would make a huge difference in our world. And so I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you.
So make sure that you connect with Dr. Roz. Look, if you love this podcast today, then please share it with your friends. Write a review. Who knows? I might actually mention you in an upcoming episode. But if this is something that somebody who's thinking, the graduation season is right here, and
Mhm.
you think somebody needs to learn how to go to college debt free, then this is the time to get the book Debt Free Degree, or connect with Dr. Roz at
Yes.
drroz.love. But really, dig in, because you can make a difference in somebody else's life by sharing this information. So share this episode, subscribe to the podcast, and put it on social. That would be
Mhm.
ways to get more women to be able to come and listen to our podcast. Next episode is going to be a powerful one. I will be talking about when is your comfort zone good for you,
Ooh,
right? Like, most of the time you hear leaders talking about how that you can't, you don't move ahead, you don't grow when you're sitting in your comfort zone. And I'm going to challenge that in my next
exactly.
episode. So
Yeah.
I hope that you look forward to this. Dr. Roz, thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you again real soon.
Thank you, love. Thank you for having me. What a delight and joy. And I will forever associate you with diamonds.
Me too.
Ah.
Thank you so much. Hang on.